in my capacity as head of customer success for Yellowdig, one of the things that I've been trying to get people to do when they use Yellowdig within a community is to have a more open, free-form conversation. And I described why that would be a good thing in a previous video. But I also want to show some of the reasons that we really think that assignments kind of have some damaging effects that can't be avoided. So, one of the things is that just when you give a deadline, people naturally procrastinate to it. And that procrastination encourages mic dropping or really hurried participation at the end of the week. If you think about most assignments that students turn in, that doesn't have any impact on anybody else in the class, right? If somebody does a paper at the last minute and turns it in by the deadline, it doesn't affect another person. If you want peer-to-peer interaction in your course, though, it does affect every other person. Every student that decides to procrastinate is influencing the experience of everyone else. That collective is a really important piece of thinking about how you should use Yellowdig and how you can really encourage students to participate. So one impact of weekly assignments is just that they have a deadline. If you create a deadline, people will procrastinate to it. The other thing is that when you require students to post, in response to a specific prompt, and you give them a deadline for that experience, those conversations can't survive if they're really interesting and ongoing. When you start the next assignment, you're automatically killing off the previous one. The other thing is if there's only one or two or maybe three topics that you're allowing as fair game for that week, then weak conversations or conversations where everything has been said really can't die off. Students have to respond to them. That's not a fun conversation. That's not a fun place to be. And as a sort of parallel, I talk about cocktail party, right? If you get stuck in a conversation at a cocktail party and you can't get out of it, that's not a fun experience. And that's what's happening in a lot of these courses where there's one topic to talk about and that's the only option. Another thing people don't think about is that if you require every student to respond, you really overproduce content to read and you don't actually produce any real back and forth conversation. Also, students, by telling them that they have to post, they'll put most of their effort towards creating a post, most of which will be boring and repetitive, rather than actually on the back and forth commenting conversation. The other thing that we see because of overproduction is that a lot of posts just never get a response at all, right? If there is a good conversation on a post, those conversations are stealing other conversations from other posts. So a lot of people put effort into their posts, but never actually get any interaction with other students out of it. The last thing I talk about is the plagiarism avoidance game, right? Most people know that plagiarism is bad and they try to avoid it. Well, if everybody has already said everything that is relevant about an article and you come in, your only game, the only thing that really matters is that you avoid plagiarizing. You're not really putting your own thoughts there. So students spend a lot of time just avoiding being, plagiarizing other people's content. The other thing, this is a little bit hard to define, but assignments also remove community self-determination and kind of reduce what students think of as their responsibility in that community, right? So if you tell students that they have to do one specific thing, that's all they think their responsibility is. In a good learning community, their responsibilities are probably a little bit more varied. And students can take some ownership in sort of co-creating their learning experience if you give them the freedom to do so. One thing we also see in weekly comments again and again is data showing that students participate less when you put them in place. So this is data from an institutional pilot where they had 5 courses and 900 learners, and they tried a single continuous board within the Classic platform versus courses that they had designed with unique boards per discussion. And so these are weekly assignments in sort of the traditional vein. We see again and again that those traditional weekly assignments really reduce overall student engagement and quality. So we have strong data to show that, and that's actually why Yellowdig was designed the way it is with a single scrolling feed. It definitely helps get students going and stay going.